This is the 21st show. I'm Brian Mackey, and it's time now for our reporter roundtable, where we talk about stories making headlines across the 21st state. Today, Peoria and vicinity. Joining us now is Cameron Cutinello, reporter for WCBU, Peoria Public Radio. Cameron, welcome back to the 21st show.
Thanks for having me.
So I want to start by talking about a big a court verdict, a malpractice lawsuit that ordered OSF Healthcare and other providers to pay $41 million. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so the background of the case is Craig Pierce was admitted to OSF St. Francis Hospital in Peoria in 2016 for pneumonia. He was then diagnosed with atrial fibrillation and was ultimately prescribed a blood thinner and was discharged. And now Mr. Pierce's lawyers said that OSF had failed to create a plan to monitor his lab results to make sure that that blood thinner medication was doing its job of preventing stroke. And unfortunately, Mr. Pierce did suffer a massive stroke after 4 weeks. He now has permanent brain damage. He is unable to do his job. He was a lawyer, so he's unable to practice law. He can't communicate, and he requires 24/7 care. So the lawyers argued that between OSF and some other care providers, they hadn't monitored that medication, which had caused him to have that stroke.
So unusual to see lawsuits like this actually go to judgment and have a big jury verdict. What do you know what's next? Are there appeals in store, or what are you expecting to follow as this case or with this case in the future?
Yeah, Mr. Pierce's lawyers did say that they are anticipating an appeal. OSF has not said yet if that will be their next step. But the lawyers say that it's fairly common in these cases that they will appeal that settlement.
All right, let's move on to a few education stories out of Peoria. First, the Illinois State Board of Education rejected an appeal that would have kept open the charter school known as Quest Charter Academy. What's going on there?
Yeah, so Quest first opened in 2010. The goal was for it to be a math, science, and technology school. They were renewed once in 2015 and then again in 2020. Um, and the Peoria Public Schools Board of Education voted in January to close the school. They had during the, the 2020 renewal process had some mutually agreed upon academic goals that they wanted Quest to reach in order to be renewed again. And Quest had not reached 8 out of 11 of those goals. They also had not had the required 75% teacher certification, which means that they were not in compliance with state law. So Quest appealed that decision to the State Board of Education. There was a hearing, and an independent hearing officer had recommended that the school stay open, saying that a lot of the problems had already existed during the last renewal process when Peoria Public Schools had granted them a renewed contract. State superintendent sided with the Peoria Public Schools Board, said that because they were not in compliance with state law with the required percentage of teachers, that Quest should not be, that the appeal should not be granted, and the state board ultimately voted with Superintendent Tony Sanders.
All right, sticking with education, sort of, I guess. Bradley University, this is education at a higher level, recently received a federal research grant in the area of solar energy. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so that grant, it's a $950,000 grant. It will be used to create a solar energy research lab. And the goal of that lab is to study solar storage and train 32 students each year to enter that solar field. So the ultimate goal is to find a way to create continuous energy from solar. That issue of if it's a string of cloudy days, how do you keep, powering a house? Also, of course, to combat climate change. But there are a lot of people in this area. I spoke to a local solar company owner who told me that a lot of people are also making the switch because of energy costs. But the current storage batteries are often way too expensive for the average person to purchase. So Bradley University is trying to find a way to basically find a more affordable storage option for people who are purchasing solar panels for either their businesses or their homes.
Yeah, that cloudy day problem, that's an interesting one. All right, last but not least, this is also, I guess, in the realm of education. We're doing a very education thematic conversation today, but there's a new accessible garden at the Schramm Educational Center in Pekin. What more can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so this project had started pre-pandemic, but it kind of fizzled out. And the goal is that all the students at the school will be able to participate in this process. So Shram serves students aged 3 to 22 in special education. And so this garden was designed with accessibility in mind. It has U-shaped beds so that wheelchairs can access every part of it. Two other beds were designed to kind of be able to be sat at like a desk. So again, students of all levels of disability will be able to work on these gardens. And they also created a grid system so that they will be able to teach a curriculum about the food they're growing and the importance of healthy eating. And they have eventual hopes to be able to maybe have students use the vegetables to create salsas or put it into smoothies and operate a little farm stand. So then they're also, working on their communication skills, working on just kind of a lot of different skills, and it gets them outside. So yeah, it kind of gets some diversity in the curriculum with this
Oh,
project.
it sounds really cool. Salsa, I'm on board with. Smoothies, I don't know, take them or leave them. Cameron Cutinello, though, is a reporter at WCBU Peoria Public Radio. Thank you so much for being with us, sharing what you've been working on covering in Peoria. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.